Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the post-Neuraxis conference workshop. That is the first post-Neuraxis workshop is visceral manipulation. For the topic, we are having our resource person, Dr. V. Prem. The full name is Dr. Prem Venkatesh. Dr. Venkatesh is PhD in physiotherapy and currently he is working as Associate Professor and Head of the Department in Department of Physiotherapy, Manipal College of Health Professions in the Manipal Hospital, Bangalore. Sir is having more than 17 years of academic and clinical experience. Thank you, Dr. Prem, for giving your consent, and it's our honor you are there for the post-Neuraxis workshop. Thank you, sir. Now you can start your workshop. If you find out any difficulty, you can say we would remove that student. It's now
Sure.
the session is with you. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thanks for your kind introduction, sir. Happy to be part of it, and thanks for the invitation and making me part of the conference. Quite happy to be here. And yeah, we start with the topic. So it's visceral manipulation basics or introduction, and so what we are going to see today is we'll see what is the movement system. That's what as a physiotherapist we look for, movement system, and that's what we work for. And why visceral? So you've got so many systems in our body, musculoskeletal, cardiovascular, and in that why visceral? And as a physiotherapist, is it really is it part of our scope or it doesn't fall under our scope? We'll just have a small discussion on that. And I'll be discussing about the case histories which I have treated, and then I'll be telling about what is the mechanism, how this works, and also with some research evidences which is existing for visceral manipulation. So to start with, there is a patient who is a male patient having a male patient is a 19 years old, and he comes with is a student by is studying engineering, is a student, and he comes with a chief complaint of pain over left chest over past 2 months, and no history of trauma. He doesn't give any history of trauma, and he lost his father 4 months back, and the pain on the chest was gradual in onset. Currently his VAS, the intensity of pain is 8 out of 10, and he already met cardiologist and orthopedician whom they have cleared. Cardiologist has taken an ECG and he cleared that it doesn't look like anything cardiac in origin, and he went to orthopedic and he checked his kind of movements, and he found again there is no role for orthopedician, and his chest x-ray was taken, again nothing was found, and then he came to physiotherapy. So what do you think, is it this patient need to be treated by physiotherapist, or we send them back to someone else? What do you think? Is there any indication for physiotherapy or no indication? You can just put your comment in the chat box. Just put chat box. You feel it is relevant, this patient to be treated or not treated? Do we have an indication or not? So you can put in the chat box. Okay. One person has said yes, so we can have responses. Yes. Okay. Fine. So everybody is telling, okay, isometric exercises, good, fine. Anything else? Okay. So what could be the source of pain? What is the reason? If we tell yes, no, so we should know what could be the possible source of pain. Can you put the comments here? What could be the possible source of pain? From where this pain is coming? Vitamin deficiency, good, possible. Any other possibilities? Maybe acidity, okay, possible, good. Costochondritis, okay. Any other possibilities? Nerve irritation, which nerve is there? Referred pain, okay, good. From where? So possibility of vitamin deficiency, possibility of acidity. So if it is vitamin deficiency and acidity, as a physiotherapist, do we have a role? Okay, emotional trauma, yes, good. Emotional trauma due to father's death, that's a good thought process. but how an emotional trauma will cause a physical pain. Okay, some thoughts. How an emotional trauma can cause a physical pain. Yeah, possible. Referred pain from the heart, but already it has been ruled out with the cardiologist and the orthopedician. So the chances are not there for your cardiac in origin. And also costochondritis already has met the orthopedician. Again, there is no role, right? So you have to rule out cardiac. You have to rule out to some extent costochondritis, right? So could be the possible. So just these are the some of the thoughts. We are going to see this case again at the end of the presentation. Yeah, acidity, right? Depressed, emotional trauma. Yeah, agree. So we will come back to this case as we go through the presentation, and we will see what was done and we'll see what was the outcome. Okay, so this is just to give an idea whether what could be the possible sources, and as a physio, do we have a role or not? Okay. So as I said, the movement system. So that's what as a physiotherapist we are taught: biomechanics, right? Movement analysis, kinetics, kinematics. That's what we are. So to get a good movement, let it be shoulder, let it be lumbar, let it be knee, let it be any region. What are the systems which should work optimal? Okay. So what are the systems which should work optimal so that you get a good quantity and quality of movement? So you need articular, your joints, you need muscles which need to work well. You need the nerves or the neural system. You need fascia. So you need visceral, you need central nervous system, and psychosocial factors. All these are the components which will determine whether you get a good movement or you got any pain, dysfunction, you got problem in any of these systems. You can have a dysfunction in your movement and thereby patient having some problem in the functional activities. Fine. So as a physiotherapist, we are quite familiar with articular, neural, muscle. Definitely we are very good at it. And also to some extent psychosocial factors, identifying it, right? And also the central nervous system. But most often the fascia and the visceral, which we don't have much kind of exposure in this area, but definitely they play a role. So for today, we'll look at the visceral. So what is the relationship between visceral and musculoskeletal system? So there is a relationship between internal organs and motion system. So that we call it as viscerosomatic relation. Okay, so there is a relationship between visceral organs and somatic. Somatic is nothing but your muscle, bone, and the joint. So there is a viscerosomatic relationship. It's a reciprocal relationship. That means something happens to your viscera, you can have some signs and symptoms happening at the muscle and the joints. Same thing, there is a problem, chronic problem of the muscle. Still, you can have some referral pain, some kind of pain which is happening at the anterior abdominal wall, which can reflect it as a visceral pain. So both have a reciprocal relationship. So dysfunction in one system is reflected as a disorder in the second system. So most often with the history, you can find out whether it is muscle in origin to some extent or visceral in origin with the history. Okay, so thereby we will understand which one to treat first. So that gives the idea. Fine. So this is a viscerosomatic relationship. You can see in the spinal cord, you got the interneurons, whereby you got the muscles and the joints, and the interneurons overlap with the colon, with your small intestine, large intestine, and you got these interconnections which they speak with each other. So that means you have a problem in the intestine that can get reflected in your muscles and the joint, or you have a problem with the muscles and joint that can get reflected in the visceral organs. Okay, so this is possible because of this neural connections. And if the pain or if the problem in a structure is purely muscle, joint, bone, we call it a somatic. If it's purely visceral, that means you got several organs, liver, stomach, you got small intestine, large intestine is going to the source, we call it as visceral in origin. And also it's possible, as I told, based on the history, you can have viscerosomatic. That means the problem started with viscera. Suppose, for example, the person having a appendicectomy, right? After that, person goes for an abnormal posture and then he gets a back pain. Then it is most often viscerosomatic. That means the cause is in the viscera. Then it gets reflected pain maybe later on the back, or maybe in the knee, maybe in the hip. So we call it as viscerosomatic. Or you might have somatovisceral. As I told, patient may start with a back pain, okay, which is disc or a nerve. chronic, untreated, or patient is suffering for long time because of repeated injury, then they can have a referral pain happening in the viscera, can be in the anterior abdominal region. Then we call it as somatovisceral. So this is very important to understand, because as a physio, we are good at somatic. We are good at, to some extent, we will know, if it is somatic, definitely we know, but when it's visceral or viscerosomatic, most often we are not kind of exposed in this area, or we have a limited knowledge, and definitely that is a major kind of limitation when you treat a patient. Because as a patient, when the patient come to us, right, they come with organs, they come with what you say, their interconnections with the muscles, bone and joints, right? Patient doesn't know that we don't have a syllabus of viscera, right? Patient doesn't know, organs doesn't know, but when they come with it, it all come as a whole system. So you can't say like I'll treat only muscle and bone, because that's what we are taught in the syllabus. So that's how there is a kind of limitation from our side. Again, it's up to us. If we feel it's not within the scope of physiotherapy, that's okay. But if you really want to understand what is going on, and you want to be sure that is it muscle or viscera, unless and until you understand this concept, I think we are just beating around the bush, and we may not know what we are doing also. So that's a bit dangerous when you see a patient. But at least to understand whether it is visceral or not, I think it's very important. We understand this concept. So the possible localization of visceral patterns. Suppose the person has got a stomach, chronic ulcer, or some kind of surgeries, right? And then they might have a referral pain or a spine tenderness from thoracic spine T4 to T7. If the person has got some liver disease or a gallbladder, they might have a spine tenderness from thoracic 6 to thoracic 9. Okay. If kidney issues are there, then the patient might have again spine tenderness from thoracic 10 vertebrae to lumbar vertebrae L2. Any gynecological issues, patient with kind of uterus, kind of urinary bladder issues. There are ligaments on the urinary bladder, on the uterus, which has gone for some post surgery, post hysterectomy, or they have having cyst. So these causes abnormal traction on those ligaments, and they can refer pain, which can happen from L2 to S1, okay, SI joint and the pelvic floor. So if you see that, so you got this tenderness which can happen. So normally as a musculoskeletal therapist, when we treat patients, we think about there is a tenderness, then we think it could be a bone, it could be a joint, facet joint, or it could be a muscle, or it could be a nerve. But this shows us this could be a source from the visceral organ, so which cannot be ignored. So if you see the section of the gastrointestinal system, you can see it as a liver, stomach, transverse colon, and you can see everything is interconnected, okay, with the peritoneum, visceral peritoneum and parietal peritoneum, and you can see it just doesn't hang just like that. You can see it's like a bed. The layer, it is just lying down on the lumbar vertebrae and the thoracic spine. So if you see this structure doesn't exist separate. So it has got an attachment to the lumbar vertebrae. That's the reason you can't say that like, I treat physiotherapist, I treat muscle, bone and joint. Yes, of course, nerve we treat, but you can see all these organs, which is like a bed, which is just overlaying on the lumbar vertebrae. If there is some issue there, it can definitely cause changes on your lumbar region and can be a pain. And if the source is going to be visceral organ, whatever you do with your muscle, nerve and joint, nothing is going to change. And this is other a picture, which is a fascia, which is like a gift wrap, which overlaps, okay, which makes a kind of wrapping. And this has got an extensive attachment again to your lumbar vertebrae. So what is visceral manipulation? Visceral manipulation is a gentle, non-aggressive form of manual therapy that specifically targets the internal organs, how they articulate, their support structures, and their physiological functions as well as dysfunctions. So the word manipulation looks little kind of eye thrust what we are exposed, but here it's very gentle and soft, okay, and it's very specific to the organs, and you do a good diagnosis and you treat, and you can see the change immediately. So what does it include? It includes liver, stomach, all your gastrointestinal system, gallbladder, small intestine, large intestine, then your pelvic floor organs, your uterus, your urinary bladder, then you got thoracic, lungs, you got heart. So you got all these organs which can be treated with this visceral manipulation. Okay, can you just answer this question in your chat box? Patient with right shoulder pain, which visceral structure can refer pain? Stomach, liver, heart, large intestine. Can you answer in the chat box? Right shoulder pain, which could be the structure? Yeah, another 5 seconds. Yeah. Okay. So lots of answer which tells liver and heart. So very simple question. Which is on the right side, which is on the left side? Okay, gallbladder, possible, good. Okay, which is on the right, which is on the left? So patient says right shoulder pain. Most often it could be the liver or it could be gallbladder also. Okay, but definitely not heart. Heart is definitely on your left side. It can give referral pain on your left shoulder. So the answer is liver. So thanks for your participation. So we'll move on. And what is the relationship with breathing and visceral movement? As I said, the visceral organs, they move. Okay, so they've got two types of movements. One is known as mobility, other is known as motility. Okay, I'll repeat again. All the intestinal organs has got mobility and motility. Mobility is the organs move because of the mechanical forces such as breathing, heartbeat, movement of the fluid. Because of this, the organs move. They are in a constant movement because of these mechanical forces. That is your mobility. There is one more movement which happens that's known as motility. Motility means these organs have an inherent ability to move themselves. Okay, thus this is how when we are in the embryo, all the organs are in the midline, and because of these motility, they move to right and left. And in the embryology, if you see the organs development, okay, some of the organs move right, some of the organs move left. So this is known as inherent movement, which is known as motility, which is always present. Okay, till we are alive, this motility is always present. And the other concept, as I said, it is the mobility, which happens as we can see here. This is a mobility. So it's a imaging where you can see this is the lung. Okay, and when the lung moves, you can see the diaphragm. You can see the organs moving up and down. So every breath. On every breath, when you do it, the organs move up and down. For example, if it's going to be, if there is going to be injury, or if it's going to be abnormal posture, right? This breathing is going to be affected. Then the movement of these organs can get affected, and their functions, physiological functions, can get affected. Okay, so that means in a day we breathe like 16 to 18 breaths per minute, which is around 22,000 breaths per day. That means that many times your visceral organs are moving up and down. So any trauma, any abnormal posture, you are going to impede, or you are not going to, and you have got some breathing dysfunction, you don't breathe well because of the stress, because of things, right? You are going to affect the movement of the organs. That is going to affect their physiological function. So organs move. Okay, if they don't move, then you need some mechanical forces. That's what we use it in this visceral manipulation to activate those organs, and you will see change in the bowel movements, change in the digestion, change in so many changes which happens, which are very subtle, but it does change. And I just like to show you a brief cadaveric anatomy. Okay, so just to show you or get a view of visceral organs. So that's your liver. Okay, so that's your gallbladder, bile duct. Okay, and then your esophagus, which continues as your stomach. Underneath is your pancreas. Okay, then it continues as your duodenum. Then it continues as a small intestine, which is around 6 meters in length, very thing where all your absorption happens, then followed by your length. And this is your kidneys, and you can see they are all placed underneath your muscles. So You can see this muscle here. Any idea what is this muscle? Anybody can answer in the chat box. What is this muscle? Okay. And you got the other muscle here, which is like a bed above which, yeah. So you got some answers. What is the first muscle? No, not abdominals. We have removed the abdomen, okay, muscles, then only you can go in. Okay, so all your, what you say, transverse abdominis, everything is removed. Your internal external oblique, okay, everything is removed. So you can see that, no, it's not multifidus. Good, quadratus lumborum, okay. Any other one which is just closer to the vertebrae. This muscle, very important. Next to that is this broad muscle, fine. The muscle which is close to the spine, that's your psoas major. And the one which is lying down next to it, that's your quadratus lumborum, above which all these organs are sitting. So when you talk about something visceral, something about muscles, they are all interconnected, okay, unless and until to tell really it is muscle, you need to know whether it's not visceral. So that's the reason I feel anatomically they are relevant, they are real. So this is not something fictional. Anatomically they are real, they are true, okay. So once again, this is one more video which shows about the attachment of the viscera to the spine. Just see, that's your peritoneum, which covers visceral and parietal peritoneum. As I said, it's all interlinked, nothing stays. That's your small intestine. Fine. They are all connected. And then, can you see that? And it goes, attaches to your spine. So it doesn't exist like, no, kind of hanging in the sky or something, right? And you see the movement. So that's like a kind of cauliflower, right? Your small intestine. Okay. And can you see that when you move that mechanically, you can see the whole body, our whole spine is moving. So there is no way, no, it's anatomically connected. So if you want to tell it doesn't exist, it doesn't matter as a physiotherapist, I think we need to think about it because it's connected and patient comes with the organs. We can't tell keep the organs at home when you come for physiotherapy. Okay, that is not possible, right? And you can see the amount of movement happening when you move a small intestine. So it's definitely anatomically attached. Okay, that's what I want to convey. Just a small question, can you answer? What is the length of small intestine? In the chat box, can we have answers? What is the length of small intestine? Yeah, another 10 seconds. Yeah, somebody is rating meters, feet. Yeah, fine. So the answer is, yeah. So answer is good, good. Most of you are answering. So the answer is 6 meters. Yeah, 6 to 7 meters. That's the answer. Good, good. Thanks for the response. Okay, to move on. So who started this visceral manipulation? It started by a person known as Dr. Jean Perry Barrel, who is an osteopath. Not only that, initially, he was trained as a physiotherapist. After that, he did his osteopathy. Fine, that is his background. So how he started, okay? So after, he was doing his practice and people came with back pain. So he is from France, okay? So he started treating the patient. So one of the patient he treated and then he met the patient after 3 months, okay? And the patient is treated one session only. When he came back, he asked, how are you doing? Then the patient said, right, I'm doing fine. Oh, that's great. Then the patient said, it's not because of you. Then he asked, then how you got better? So I went to tribal people in Alps mountain. They did something on my abdomen and I got better. Okay. So he thought, okay, by chance something has happened. But what happened is consecutively you got another 3 to 4 patients who gave a similar story that they come for treatment. Then they go back and they meet these people in the Alps mountain and they do something in the abdomen and they feel better. Okay, that's the reason. And then the Jean Perry got curious and he started going back to the anatomy. Okay, what is it? How was the connections? between the visceral organs and the back and the knee and the shoulder. Then he started getting all these anatomical linkages and the ligaments, right? Or peritoneum, which is getting linked and which can put a traction on your nerves and can muscle, and that itself can create those signs and symptoms of pain and dysfunction. That's how he started developing this system. And if you see this, according to him, they have developed 6 levels of visceral thing, which they take abdomen level 1, different organs, and then about thorax, about pelvis, and also they connect very much with the emotions and organs. Okay, which I feel as a physio we treat mechanical, and definitely patient when they come, it's not purely kind of physical problems. They do have emotions, right? That has a great influence, which he believes, that's a starting point. Okay, why visceral? Out of all the systems, you've got several systems. Why visceral? Okay, I would like to put a small question, right? As we age, which system do you think it starts getting the disease? Can I get some answers in the chat box? As we age, which system do you think it starts getting problem? You got musculoskeletal, you got neurological, like stroke, like myocardial infarction. So like that, which system do you think the people starts getting problem? Musculoskeletal, stomach, musculoskeletal. Okay, any other systems? Any other systems? That's it. Musculoskeletal. So everybody thinks musculoskeletal, central nervous system. Yes, it depends on the trauma also, what you go through, that also determines. But most often, if you think, if you go back and see, if you remember your younger days, like you are in 7th grade, 8th grade, right? You are going to exams, right? What do you feel, right? What do you feel? You feel something, you go to restroom, you run, or you fear somebody, you think that someone is going to harm you, or some teacher you don't like, some of the environment you don't like. Then what do you feel? You feel something happening in the stomach, right? And you go to restroom. Same thing happens when you wait for your viva. What happens during viva, right? If it's your next turn, everything you feel your heartbeat, you feel your sweating, and you feel something happening in the stomach. All these things starts much at the earlier age when you're in fear, and all this most often the gastrointestinal system, which starts having some issues which normally we don't attend at all. Okay, normally we don't attend. Okay, and this systems changes in the system, and it is said that gastrointestinal system are the second brain. Okay, so first brain is your brain. It's known as gastrointestinal is considered as a second brain, because they are so sensitive and they can react very fast to your emotions, and they can change unless and until they go for small spasms and it becomes chronic. Then you develop the diseases, right? And you keep systems keep adapting and adapting, and there is a point they land in disease, and most often it will be gastrointestinal, and that's how they feel the emotions. They are very sensitive to the emotions. So in order for a person to be, so that's how the gastrointestinal system gains a kind of interest. So in order for a person to be completely healthy, all of the visceral system must have proper motion. Okay, and Jane Perry believes emotion in our lives make a great impact on our bodies and function, and our organs are very receptive to emotions and feelings. As we saw in the first patient whom I put loss of father, and he gets a chest pain, and he gets ruled out, or he gets kind of clearance from orthopedic and cardiologist, and lands in physio department. So emotional reactions can range from simple spasms in gallbladder to heartburn, vomiting, feeling faint, actually fainting, ulcers, and more serious diseases. So recurring emotional stress can exhaust an organ and restrict its movement. That's where we assess and we treat accordingly. And according to this concept, they believe that 90% of musculoskeletal problems have a visceral component. And as a physio, we have adequate orthopedic and manual skills, and we do specific exercise programs, which remains integral to the treatment of the client. Okay, and as a physiotherapist, we are well trained in multiple systems. Yeah, we look at nervous system, we look at musculoskeletal system, right? We are well versed and we have extensive knowledge about the spine and the extremities, emphasizing the importance of articulation and movement. Okay, but however, we have a limited thing except what we read about gastrointestinal system in physiology in our first year or second year. After that, we don't have much idea about the gastrointestinal system, right? So that's where, right, we don't have, or we have a limited knowledge to understand. And when the patient comes, most often I have a problem back, and then patient says I have pain on my anterior side, that the abdomen or the knee. If the patient says multiple areas, most often we tell them, yeah, that's okay. We look at our back. So that's how we react. And because we are well versed with our back assessment, we do a detailed assessment of the back. And most often we ignore whatever the patient complains. I have pain here, pain there. If you look little more closely, you will understand the patient better. So I always felt it's not we always tell there is a problem in the patient's head. Okay, so I don't think so. It's most often, it's a problem with as a clinician, how do we understand the patient? Do we include these structures also as part of our assessment? If not, then most often we blame the patient. It's most often it's the mistake with as a therapist. It's our mistake, more 90% of the time, and it's patient is always right, because those are the people who come with problem. You don't address their problem, I think you are nowhere close to the solution. Okay, I'd like to share the case histories which I have treated. So this is a female patient who is 21 years, comes with a pain at right lower thoracic region and rib cage. Okay, for past 3 weeks, that's the patient complaint. So that's the pain location. So it's in the posterior lateral region on the right side. Pain history is a gradual in onset. Location, right thoracic region and rib cage, dull, aching type of pain, type, nature, intermittent in nature, duration for last 3 weeks, and it gets aggravated by forward bending and sitting, and it gets relieved by supine, and the patient comes with a intensity of pain 8 out of 10, and irritability is moderate. Okay, so I checked liver mobility, and it's the same pain which got provoked, and the patient was treated with visceral manipulation involving liver mobilization. Okay, so that's the location of the liver, which is the surface anatomy of the liver. Just below the rib cage, the surface anatomy lies along your costal margins. Okay, right? And the patient was treated for 4 sessions, weekly once, and patient got complete resolution of the symptoms. This is other patient, male patient with a 45 years, and comes with a chief complaint of pain in the right lower abdomen. Okay, pain over right lower abdomen for past 1 week. And occupation is a physician who works in our hospital. And that's the location of pain. That's your location, right? Abdominal or iliac region. That's where the patient pain location is. Onset gradual, no trauma. Location right iliac region. It's a sharp pain and it's intermittent in nature, and it gets aggravated to sitting, and then from sit to stand. That's the physician. Most often involves consultation in sitting position, and when he comes out of the sitting to stand, he feels the pain is more. Fine, and it gets relieved by walking. He walks few steps or walks for 2 to 3 minutes, then the pain disappears. And the VAS 6 out of 10, irritability is mild. As a physician, and he's got no other systemic symptoms like nausea, vomiting, weight loss, no. Surgical history, nothing. Personal history, nothing significant. Medical history, nothing significant. And he has already undergone investigation, being a physician. He went for CT abdomen, which was normal. He went for ultrasound abdomen, which was normal. Then he comes to physio. He calls me, can I have a look? No, right? That's how he comes in. So what are the possible differential diagnoses when the person complains of right iliac pain? It could be appendicitis, it could be renal stone, it could be psoas major trigger point, it could be sacroiliac joint dysfunction, it could be hip pathology, it could be a cecum restriction, it could be hernia. So most often, since he went through all the medical things, you can rule out those appendicitis, renal stone, right? Hernia, you can rule out. And as a part of physical therapy examination, I ruled out psoas major trigger point, I ruled out sacroiliac and hip, and finally what was left out was in that area only the cecum. Okay, so the diagnosis was cecum restriction, and the patient was done cecum mobilization in supine position for 4 to 5 minutes. Okay, so cecum, where is cecum? Cecum is the starting point of large intestine. So this is a small intestine which comes in cecum, ascending colon, transverse colon, descending colon. This is a cecum. And the cecum has got ligaments like medial ligament, inferior ligament, lateral ligament. So what we found was medial ligament, which there was an adhesion. And when I did the physical movement or no physical test to check the medial ligament, and I found the pain was provoking, it was the same pain which the patient was provoked. Okay, so you got different directions where we try to move this medial ligament, inferior lateral ligament, and the medial ligament was the one which produced the same pain what the patient was complaining. And the same release was done. And immediately after the treatment, which took 4 to 5 minutes, his VAS came to 0. Again, we made him sit for some time. How much ever time? No, most often he sits for 8 to 10 minutes. Then when he gets up, he gets a pain. And he sat for 8 to 10 minutes, and he stood, and he found no pain. Again, post treatment after 1 month, again it remained same, no pain. It's only one session. Even I see him, that was only one session which was done, and the pain reduced and the pain disappeared. Until now, there is no issue at all. So this is the last case history which I would like to share with you. The same case which we started in the initial. So male patient, 19-year-old, occupation student, chief complaint pain over left chest for past 6 months, for past 2 months. No history of trauma. Only significant history is lost his father 4 months back and gradually onset pain, and the VAS was 8 out of 10. It was quite high, and he is already cleared with your cardiac in origin or costochondritis. Chest X-ray was taken, ECG was taken, he was cleared. What could be the possible source of pain? Okay, it could be muscle. Yes, it's possible. We'll see. So he looked on observation, he looked dull and less communicative. I can see his face. He was not communicating much. He had a relative who was along with him. He was talking most of the time, and I tried to converse with him, and slowly he started talking, but he was not that much communicative. And when I did a palpation assessment, left side chest wall was stiff compared to right side, and all his thoracic range of motions were full. There is nothing like a limitation. All were full. So what could be the source and how to treat? Fine. What could be the source? Can I have some comments in the chat box? What could be the source? What do you people think? What could be the source? Can I have some answers in chat box? Good. Sympathetic system. Okay. Any other source? What do you think? There is no trauma. It's only emotions. So what an emotion can do? What could be the source? Forget about deficiencies. We are not getting into it. What could be the source? It could be because any other answers? So you got some sympathetic system in that line. Yeah, emotional trauma. How an emotional trauma will lead to physical signs and symptoms? Any idea? What an emotional trauma does? A person who is anxious, person who is stressed, and this patient also had problem with his sleep. He can't sleep. Yeah, psychogenic. So how does it reflect in the as a kind of signs and symptoms? He comes with a chest pain. Fine. So most often it's a sympathetic system. Yes. Difficulty in breathing. Good. So you got a sympathetic system, rapid breathing. Okay. Fine. Short breathing. So you got the muscles which goes for stiffness or could be a trigger point possible. Fine. Right. And that itself can cause a kind of pain, right? And not only that, your chest expansion reduces because of your anxiety and sympathetic system, and there are spaces in the thoracic cavity. Okay, so there is something known as costodiaphragmatic recess, which is happening in the inferior part of the lung. There is a space, and also there is a suprapleural space where there is a space. All the spaces, are not moved, and there are ligaments in those areas which goes for a stiffness, and also superficially over the muscles which goes for stiffness, and that itself can be a source of pain. So this is a picture. So what is apex of the lung, suprapleural, or there is a space between your lung and the pleura. So you got almost, you got above the clavicle, you got 4 to 5 centimeter where the apex of the lung goes up. There is a space there which doesn't expand much because of the anxiety or because of the sympathetic activity. And also you can see here there is costodiaphragmatic recess. This is a space again which is unutilized. The whole thoracic rib cage is stiff, and you got the mediastinum, medial mediastinum, which again kind of stiff. All these things, stiffness itself can cause overall stiffness of this side of the left side chest. And as I said, our heart, no, it's a seat of emotion, right? A loss of a person got lots of emotions going on, and your endocrine, your cortisol, which is pumped up, your adrenaline, which itself, right, can cause those sympathetic activity and cause less movement of the chest wall, and no, so your muscles, your no, overall these lack of movement itself could be the source of pain. So there is superior pleural manipulation which helps to release those stiffness, and you got costomediastinal manipulation through which you can release those no medial mediastinum and release those stresses. And also you got some no ligaments which are attached to the heart, which is known as, you can see the attachments here. This is a superior sternopericardial ligament. This is an inferior sternopericardial ligament, which has got attachment, maybe lack of movement, lack of deep breath, right? And your wrong posture. Maybe you can see a person who is sad and depressed. They sit with a kyphosis, okay? And there's no good expansion of the rib cage. So all these ligaments, okay, goes for a kind of shortness, and that can cause pain, okay? And you release these ligaments and you will find huge relief in the patient, and you will feel chest expanding better, and you will see the whole lot of changes happening in the patient emotional and the physical level. So that's what is done. So at the end of the first treatment, his VAS came down to 5, and most importantly, by the time he left the OPD, I could see a smile in his face, and no, that told the whole story, right? After 3 sessions, his VAS becomes 0. Along with this, I advised him to meet a psychologist, okay? And also I advised him to go for some kind of aerobic exercise, can be a badminton, cycling, swimming, jogging, whatever works for him. So I told him to do these things along with a kind of psychological to meet a psychologist to get his kind of trauma, emotional trauma, so can be attended. But definitely you can see there is a role for us to play. It's not something to tell the patient you have a psychological problem, go to someone. So if you work hand in hand as a team, I think we can get a good outcome for this patient, which are quite common. We can see them, this we call it as non-cardiac chest pain. So this prevalence of non-cardiac chest pain, right? No, it's a muscle, it's a kind of joint. The prevalence is quite high. People come because of anxiety. People come to the emergency and they report these kind of chest pain, and their cardiac, pulmonary, gastrointestinal is not there, and they were sent home. And all these patients, if you see, they need some form of mechanical treatment, which I feel there is a great kind of demand in this area, because we see in our emergency, right? And we see lots of patients coming with anxiety and chest pain, and they found nothing with the cardiac and pulmonary, and they're sent back home, just giving some analgesics and sent home. That's it. I think that's where I think we have a role to play. So how does it work? Visceral manipulation is a soft tissue mobilization. Abdominal and thoracic organs are enveloped in the connective tissue or the facial membranes. As soon as we manually manipulate this visceral soft tissue, we are affecting changes locally and also in surrounding areas because of the facial connections. And the facial, they have mechanoreceptors, which are 100 million neurons, which is located in the inferior pleural ligaments. Okay, and by manipulation, we can change the viscosity of the ground substance, and also we can reduce the sympathetic activity. That goes with any kind of myofascial release. You have got a reduced sympathetic activity, and this also has a benefit in it. And there are Pacinian corpuscles in peritoneum, and which can be influenced by manual therapy. So, and also the other mechanism by Donald D. Inger at Harvard Medical School, he says that concept of cellular mechanotransduction, the process by which cells sense mechanical forces and transduce them into changes in the intracellular biochemistry and gene expression. It's not something you do mechanically and the muscle only changes. You can see the changes happening in the intracellular biochemistry and gene expression. So he calls it as a mechanotransduction. You do a myofascial release, you do this visceral organ releases, so you can cause changes in this biochemistry and gene expression. So there are some evidences. It's not a lot of evidence for visceral manipulation, because the reason is being people come with multiple factors, and it's kind of you got some evidences, no doubt, with ultrasound, with radiography. This is a study which compared with the physiotherapy with visceral manipulation, comparing only with the kind of physiotherapy, and they found when they combined with visceral manipulation, they found the patient improve better. And also what they have done in this study is they have taken patients with back pain who had a history of gastric issues. Okay, so that makes it more significant. So they had a history of gastric issues, and then they complained of back pain, and they found that they combined with these two, physiotherapy and visceral, they found the outcome was better. And this is the other study where they have done sigmoid colon manipulation, which is present on your left side. That's your before large intestine, colon, sigmoid colon, and rectum. And they found that altered pressure pain threshold in the lumbar spine. Okay, so as I said, you got a patient comes with a back pain, or you find a tenderness on your lumbar spine, L4, L5, S1. It's not only your muscles. It could be your pelvic organs. It could be your pelvic organs, which could be the source of pain, and that can cause refer pain on your lumbar spine and sacrum. And this is other study where they have done visceral manipulation for the liver and stomach, and they found changes in the, it's a patient is done in a chronic neck pain, and they found changes in the cervical range of motion and also EMG activity of upper trapezius. So so you can see clearly, it's anatomy. Okay, there's nothing like some kind of thing. It's anatomy. It has got similar dermatome. You got referential pattern. So definitely you do something this, you will have changes on your upper trapezius, and also you can show changes in your shoulder. Okay, so that's definitely possible. Fine. There is another study which is done in cerebral palsy kids. It's a case report. They have done visceral and neural manipulation, and they found changes in the constipation. So they recorded through ultrasound, okay, colonic motility, and also they have done bowel movements, number of bowel movements which changed. And this is the last MCQ. Patient with history of appendectomy 2 years back, currently complaints of back pain. He can be classified as visceral, somatic, viscerosomatic, somatovisceral. Can I have answers in the chat box? What the patient can be classified? Yeah. Yes. So started with appendectomy 2 years back, but now complaints of back pain. So is it somatovisceral? So it's going to be viscerosomatic, right? Because it started with the viscera, that's your appendix, appendectomy, then came with the back pain. So most often these patients, if you get a patient like a history like this, or cirrhosis of liver, or diverticulosis of your intestine, or you got a kind of abdominal surgery, or you got some kind of constipation, and then patient complains of back pain, knee pain. Most often you go and do whatever you do in your back and knee, it's not going to change. But you do a visceral manipulation or find which organ and what is the, where is the restriction. Most often they respond well, and if you are right, if you apply right treatment, your response is good and you get a good result. Otherwise, you just beat around the bush, nothing happens, right? So this it's very important to understand this, right? So to summarize, as a physiotherapist, we are good at musculoskeletal assessment with our neural, articular, bone, and we got very good understanding of this biomechanics and also their signs and symptoms. But along with it, I think some amount of viscera, it's not compulsory, but some amount of visceral kind of knowledge will definitely help us as a better therapist to give better outcomes for our patients. Okay, so I would like to thank Dr. Shagun and Dr. Dharampati for giving this opportunity and sharing with you. Any questions?
Thank you, Dr. Prem, for enlightening us with a new topic. I would say new because all of my students Thank you so much. You are getting up a lot of messages coming up because we was much awaited workshop was there because we was doing a lot of things on the musculoskeletal and the nervous system. But this is a new topic is there, and in which definitely we should work, and there would be excellent result would be there. As you said, ki there are less researchers are there, but we should go for more researchers in India. Definitely more publication should be coming from
Yes.
our side, and the time would be coming. Then definitely we won't save our patient. We cannot send you back. Everything we would be covered by us would be there. So students, if there any question is there, definitely you can send in the chat box. Definitely Dr. Prem would like to answer you if any questions are there. Khushi is asking, sir, for long treat. I couldn't read. Khushi again, right?
What is the duration?
What is the duration of? Okay,
What is the-
just there is a feedback is there. First, submit your feedback. Dr. Dham, I would request you kindly take the attendance also, because only those students who have they would get the e-certification.
Yes, I'm just going to put.
There is static pain, then
form.
will be possible. Sir, if there is any static pain, is involvement could be there?
Visceral pain.
Okay, ask one by one. Okay, just 5 questions would be taking. First, okay, Khushi, open your video and ask your question. Unmute yourself, Khushi, and ask your question. With
Good evening, sir. So I'm asking for how long a duration, like how many sessions should be given to a patient for the treatment?
As you have seen, the different cases what I presented, you can see the one patient was relieved with one session itself. He didn't require any follow-up. Okay, and you can see the other patient which I did 4 sessions. So most often it depends on the chronicity and whether it is acute. Most often acute people respond fast. Okay, so you won't have any standard like this many sessions I do it will get better, nothing like that. It depends on the chronicity and the acuteness. You can see the varying patient history, and as I said, if the patient is chronic, will require more sessions. If not, 1 or 2 sessions, they get a very good relief, and it stays.
Khushi, it would depend on the chronicity of the patient. Okay, if the patient pain is chronic, then we would be requiring more session. If it is acute is there and diagnosis is good, you can treat in the less session. Okay.
But if you need to be very specific when you do a diagnosis. If it's very
first
specific,
is the diagnosis. First is
yes,
the diagnosis.
Yes, and you do a proper targeted treatment. You need not beat around bush. You hit it, patient gets relief. That's it. There's nothing
Okay,
like.
Mamta.
Yeah.
Mamta, unmute yourself and say what is your question. Ayushi, also I would take your question. And fill the attendance form along with this. First Mamta, then Ayushi, then Riya Pandey. Mamta, ask your question quickly. Yes.
Sir, here dark because at my home there is light is not have, so I can't open my camera.
Okay, no problem. You ask
Carry
your
on with
question,
the question.
Mamta.
Sir, if anyone have lower back pain at one side, if at one side, and it is relief when patients sit.
Okay.
So what relation with which viscera?
See, that's what. As I told, only this much information is not possible. Okay, as I told, if the patient has any gastrointestinal history, if the patient has got any surgical history, right? Then we try to connect, whether it's a visceral in origin. only
Mamta,
with this
sometimes we require
information.
of the patient because we have to take the full history and the full examination. We
Yes,
have to
you
assess
need
it the
medical history,
somatically and
surgical history.
Okay, sir.
okay. Ayushi, your question. Ayushi, quick.
Yes, sir. Please, sir. Sir, sometimes the patients can be taking birth with the same
Your voice is
Sir,
breaking, Ayushi.
that
Ayush, I,
issue.
It's not
Ayushi, your
audible.
voice is breaking. Sorry, your voice is breaking. Ria Pandey.
I think
Ria.
she has asked, sir. I think she has asked in the chat box, how can we relieve acidity?
Okay.
Though
Okay.
patient is
Okay.
continuing
Okay.
taking bursts throughout the exercise and especially during myofascial release. See, that's what acidity, again, no, it could be because of many reasons. It could be your diet, it could be your lack of sleep, and it could be, right, gastroesophageal reflux. All these things can cause acidity, your stress level can cause. So we need to see what are the components, and it's never going to be one treatment which is going to work. If it's a gastroesophageal reflux, yes, there are visceral techniques which can be done. If it is purely stomach, so you've got a biomechanics for the stomach where we check our medial, lateral, superior, inferior movements. And if that's going to be the source, definitely the person will get better. Burp also, people get better. And acidity, as I said, along with diet, lifestyle, aerobic exercise, and then along with this visceral manipulation, patient will definitely get better. It's never going to be like, no, acidity, I give a visceral manipulation, gets better. That's wrong. Okay, same thing I said, when a patient with a chest pain, because of the emotional trauma, it's not going to be only the physical treatment. Along with that, he has to go for some emotional, psychological counseling, aerobic exercises. Together, the person is going to get better, definitely.
Good. Thank you,
Can
sir.
I ask?
Ria, ask your question.
Sir, how we will differentiate between deep friction massage and visceral mobilization?
See,
Are
that's
they
what.
same or it's
No.
different?
See, deep friction massage is part of the Cyriax concept. Okay, it's part of the Cyriax concept. It's most often on your muscle, belly, tendon, or myotendinous junction. So it's clearly a musculoskeletal. When you tell visceral manipulation, it's specific to the organs: liver, small intestine, large intestine, which has got a clear surface anatomy. We do palpation, and then we do the biomechanical assessment. How we do for shoulder, elbow, and wrist and hip. Same way, there are biomechanical movement assessment based on with the release system.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay, so it
Ankur,
includes
last question from your side. Ankur, open your video. Last question. He wants to ask the grading about the visceral manipulation.
Yeah, that's
Ankur.
what. Yeah, so there is nothing like grading as we study in Maitland, grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, grade 4, and grade 5. As I said, the word manipulation looks like something like we're doing some eye thrust. No. Okay, so this is, as I said, there is only one thing. There is a soft tissue and a soft handling, gentle handle. No, we do a very gentle release with our hands. Fine, there is no grading in it. And specific to the organs based on the anatomy, surface anatomy, and movement restriction. And each organ has got its own movements, and we find the direction of restriction, and then we release it. And also there are sphincters in the gastrointestinal system, which we release it. And as I said, each organ has got ligaments, which is quite anatomically, it's very clear, it's well proven. And according to the orientation of the ligaments and the movement assessment, the release is done.
Thank you, Dr. Prem. I am just instructing them. Please resend the form. Dham sir, please resend the form again. Once.
I have already shared.
One more time. Okay, this is the last time we are sending you the form. Whoever the student would be filling the form, they only will be getting the e-certificate. Okay.
So somebody has asked, constipation can be relieved by visceral manipulation. The answer is yes. Okay, because no, as I said, the mobility, you can see that case series on cerebral palsy, there is a increased bowel movement. Definitely it will change. And also if we see in Ayurveda, right, they do this bowel wash, and you go and check in your PubMed, you will find lots of evidence. When they do this bowel wash in chronic low back pain patients, they found there is a significant improvement in chronic low back pain. So that's nothing but your anatomical linkages between your intestine and your back. So definitely, no, it will change. It will get better. Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Prem, on behalf of IMR family and Rehabilitation Science Group and the Proceed Academy. I would like to thank you from your busy schedule. You spare time, and it is a very noble cause. You have taken up a free workshop for the students during the pandemic. I was seeing on the Facebook and all these things. A lot of workshops are going on, and that's are having the paid workshops. And with a simple request, you give your kind consent, you would be taking workshop, and it's a really good topic and we should work on it. Okay, so I would request all the students, the purpose of this workshop is you should get a insight about the visceral manipulation. You should study about this thing, and after this pandemic would be over, we would be going for the patient, we would be assessing what could be the problems could be there, and then if there any question is there, definitely we would ask Dr. Prem to come to our college and then discuss with us. Thank you, Dr. Prem, and I would
Sure, sir.
request Dr. Dharam if we can take a group photograph, just like if all students can open up their video. Is it possible, sir? Because I don't know technically is it possible or not.
Not all, but at least those who are on
Okay,
screen.
open your videos. We would try. It's new for all of us because at least we would post it on the Facebook on the World Physiotherapy Day. You all have attended the visceral manipulation workshop. So just
Nidhi,
all the students, you can open your video. We would take a group photograph. धर्म सर आ रहे हैं सारे बच्चे कुछ आ रहे हैं
हाँ ये निधि आरती ये सब बंद है आरती ममता no okay so let me put them down who are not someone has already started smiling. People have started smiling for photographs. Yes, good. That's good. Deepa. There are many जो लोग अभी खोले नहीं है. Everyone. Yes, Mithilesh, Lavi, Abhinav, Sheetal, Rasmi, Ritika, Sanskriti, Priyanka. Please open. Good. Mic off रखिए and put your video on. Komal, yes. Okay, we are taking the screenshot now.
Thank you again, Dr. Prem, for coming
Thank
on
you, sir.
the.
Thanks for the opportunity.
No, sir.
Thanks for the
It's our
opportunity.
pleasure. Thank you, sir. And
Okay.
rest of the
Sure,
students, tomorrow there is a workshop by Dr. Belia, and be ready because Dr. Prem is our Indian resource person. He knows only Italian language. Okay, the Prem knows means when there was a demo was there, a lot of problem was there. When you have to go in the chat box, just translate in the Italian language. Then he would come to know what you are asking. Okay, so tomorrow be ready at 1:45. There would be again a second workshop would be there. Now the rest students you can leave. We would meet you tomorrow. Happy World Physiotherapy Day.
Wish you a happy physiotherapy day, sir. Thank you, sir. See you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Prem. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. Prem.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, sir. Dharam Pandit.
Thank you.
Tomorrow time is at 1:45. Link is in the group. Link is into the Belia's workshop group. Dr. Mansi is the in charge. Happy World Physiotherapy Day tomorrow morning. धर्म सर हरप्रीत सर आ गए
नहीं
मैं उन्हें फोन कर दूं?
कर दो.
मैं उन्हें फोन कर रहा हूँ.
Okay, leave everyone. We will enter in another meeting.